Welcome once again to Crazy Canuck Truckin'. Thank you very much for listening and watching and following along. And this is July 1st, and I am starting season 3, so I've been here 3 years. Running solo again today. Size Matters is off doing her killing weeds thing and all of her other media stuff, so wish her well with all of that. And I just want to remind everybody to like and share and talk about it and send us messages at crazycanucktruckin@gmail.com. No G on the end. crazycanucktruckin@gmail.com. For any comments, had a guy reach out to me recently. He and I used to drive in the ice roads, and he reached me through the website. It's like, oh, I need to talk to you again. And so that was really nice. We had a good time, and that's what this is about, is trying to help each other through tough times. And have somebody on today that's in the farming industry. I have been following her, excuse me, on social media for I don't know how long, but she's actually not far away from where I live, and she goes by Ginger Mum. So welcome to the program,
Thanks for
Sherri.
having me. Happy to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thanks.
You know, it's funny. I was in spraying, agricultural spraying for a while, and I've always been connected with farming, and it's always a bit of a challenge to pin somebody down during spray season or seeding season. We almost didn't make it happen today, right?
It was almost down to the minute. I don't run the sprayer. I run the water truck. It's this old 3-ton 4-speed truck, and I just fill the tank. And it was I was on at 6 this morning, and then I was going to fill, and then I got the text that the wind had picked up, and so I had messaged you saying, sorry, I can't do it today. I am in the truck. And then I got the message, no, we're not going. It's too windy. And so then I messaged you back right away saying, yep, we can still do this. I don't like doing that. I like to be reliable, but at the same time, obviously farming is unpredictable, right?
It's very unpredictable, and it it's kind of hard on the family sometimes because you're
Mm,
working during the best times to go out and do things with your kids, or to have a picnic, or to do
hmm.
things like that, or to go to some outdoor event.
Hmm.
You know, that's exactly when you need to be working. That's kind of tough to deal with. We'll talk about that a bit later, but let's go back. Where did you grow up? What? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am, well, first, yeah, I grew up in southern Manitoba, and I was kind of born and raised in two places. I was born and raised in a very small town in southern Manitoba. I'm born evangelical Mennonite, and so a lot of my childhood was spent in Mexico, actually, on a Mexican colony, like a Mennonite colony with my relatives. So I feel really blessed that I have had the benefit of having the Canadian. I was the first one in my family when my dad and mom immigrated to Canada. I was the first one to be born in Canada, so I'm the first one in my family to have a full Canadian citizenship, which is something I'm very proud of. Happy Canada Day, everyone! And and then also spend a lot of winters in Mexico in that lifestyle, which is, it's kind of, I always say, to go visit my relatives on the colony, it's kind of like going back in time. It's very traditional still. It's kind of neat. Everyone still has animals on their yard, and that's where they get their food, fiber, everything from. But they also have smartphones and Wi-Fi, so it's really neat. I feel really blessed with how I grew up, and I've lived in southern Manitoba my whole life.
Wow, I did not know that about you. I figured you were Mennonite background, but I did not know that you had spent so much time. And that, yeah, congrats on being the first one to have their Canadian citizenship by
Yep.
being born here.
It's really
So
cool. Yeah.
that in Mexico, we had a guest on a few months ago,
Hmm.
and he was born and raised in Mexico, and then they jumped across the border
Hmm.
into Arizona, and then eventually up to Canada. His grandfather had been born in Canada
Hmm.
and moved down to Mexico to one of the Mennonite areas down there. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jacob from near Lethbridge, Alberta. He,
That's a lot of where my relatives are from as well. So I'm sure there's
yeah,
the men in a game of how are we related?
yes. Which branch of the family tree, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then
yeah.
in high school, I met my husband and we got married and we have two beautiful daughters.
Nice.
And we just, our 2 years living, we moved into the farm yard. So we were living in town and my in-laws were still living here. And so 2 years ago, we moved on to the homestead and it's now 5 generations, which is very
Wow,
something to be very proud of.
wow. There's not see in Manitoba in our area. It's hard to even get more than 5 generations because this area has not been settled for that long.
Yeah, my
So pretty
father-in-law,
much,
yes, it's crazy. My father-in-law, his grandma ended up when she moved from like to escape the war. She moved right here. It was often like because like on my side of the family, my great grandparents lived in Canada and then moved to Mexico as well.
yeah.
Um, so there was that back and forth. So yeah, you don't get a lot of generational. Whereas my father-in-law, his family immediately came here, settled here, stayed here. So it was his grandma. So technically our great grandma, and then now my girls are involved in the farm. So that's 5 generations.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's something to
That's
be proud
awesome.
of.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about being connected to the land, right?
Definitely.
And it's very important in so many ways.
Hmm.
I heard a guy once talk that when countries forget where they come from, countries forget about the land
Mm,
and get away from agriculture,
hmm.
then they go into decline.
Mm. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because and when you look back in history, the big important people, noblemen and kings, they were all people with land.
Hmm.
You know, they owned land and that's why they were important.
Hmm. Well, won't ever depreciate or get destroyed. Like nothing can. It's very comforting in a way, but also something to be, like I said, very proud of to own land. Like it's and the family farm is not something that you look around and corporations are buying up farmland. Like it's not something that is flourishing, I would say. I hope it's not something that's dying, but you can see around you farmland being either rented out or sold to just bigger corporations.
Yeah, there's a lot of land every day in Ontario, southern Ontario, that's getting taken away from agriculture, going into commercial or residential. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty sad to see so much good land
Mm-hmm.
get destroyed for that.
Yeah, that is too bad.
But um, so you are south of Winnipeg, and I wanted to have you on. Uh, recently, recently you were let's see, that was a Instagram live or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about mental health challenges. Well, at
Mm-hmm.
least that's what stuck in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, what uh, what can you tell me about your experiences with mental health?
Oh my
Just whatever
goodness.
you're comfortable with.
I am so apart from farming, I am also a motivational speaker, and I've spoken at a couple of women's conferences and other kind of retreats and events like that, just because of exactly what the road that I've walked. I really want to make sure that it's not in vain or not wasted. I am a Christian woman that believes in God and that Jesus died for my sins, and I feel that I have been saved. And I think also that now, because of everything that I've learned, I need to now pass it on, or else it was for nothing. And so my journey, it started with, I would say my mental health journey probably started when I was a lot younger than I realize, when my mom, who struggled with mental health her entire life, just made some really bad choices, and very ugly divorce from my dad when I was around 10 years old, and went to live with her, which was also a very bad choice on her part, to take me and my younger brother. She was not, as I've gotten older, I've just gotten more and more sympathy for her. I don't have a relationship with her anymore. I haven't for years and years and years, just because it was just too abusive. But over the years, I've realized, as I've healed and struggled and healed and struggled, how much sympathy I have for her and grace I have for her, realizing she was struggling so bad and she just did not seek the help that she needed. The mental health struggle, or realizing that I struggled with mental health, I would say probably hit me or became very clear to me in high school, when I struggled with just body image and really, like, I would say, severe depression. I just thought, I'm a teenager, it's just part of life, and did not realize that this was a road that I was going to have to walk and overcome. And then when I got married and we had our first daughter, I had I got postpartum quite bad and struggled. Fought. I'm an incredibly I'm an incredibly stubborn person and incredibly self-sufficient. And I wish, like, looking back, I wish that I would have just taken the steps to seek help way sooner. And that is something that I want to advocate for a lot. Is it doesn't look the same for everyone, but I wish I would have sought help a lot sooner than I did. I let it get way too bad, and finally, I have an incredibly supportive and loving husband. He is, not only is he a farmer, but he's a fully trained fire paramedic, and he saw the signs and guided me and lovingly to seek help. And I was put on medication that completely helped me. And then, just throughout the years, we had our second daughter. And again, the postpartum came back quite bad, only this time the medication that I had been on previous did the exact opposite of what it had done, for whatever reason. If it was hormonal, if it was just, I could not tell you what happened, but it put me into almost a psychotic panic state. And I became a danger to myself and others. And I have a history of, when I lived with my mom, and she lived in the city in Winnipeg, and there was abuse, and not just from her, but from just various people that came into my life, physical and sexual abuse. And never, I would say honestly, that I had never really dealt with it until I started dealing with my mental health. And wow, then did that ugly monster just start to rear its head so clearly. The way that I reacted and handled things was completely off the charts, not okay. And so it got to a point where I needed to go to the emergency room. And again, my husband, who is trained, knew exactly what to do. And also, something that I want people to know is that if you're ever in a mental health crisis, you can call 911. And it is an emergency, and they do know what to do when you go to the emergency room when it is a mental health crisis. And I didn't know that. And I'm so thankful that I did. And they put me in the mental health facility. It's called Eden in Winkler, Manitoba. And I was able to just intensively get better. It involved lots of medication, and it involved lots of trial and error, which is like, it's scary when you have to live your life, but when you're in a safe facility that can take care of you and can monitor you, you just get better so much faster. I always say it was the best worst thing I ever could have done, because I loved what I learned there. I don't ever want to go back. um, and I wish that I would have done something sooner. So through that, I still use that is well over 10 years ago that I stayed in that facility. And still to this day, I use the tools that they have taught me with panic attacks and my anxiety. And just through that, I started down a path that I thought was only going to be uphill. And I realized very quickly that it was not only an uphill climb, that you would have mountains and you would have valleys, and learning there is a season, and that whether you are on medication or not, currently I'm not on medication, but I openly support all avenues of mental health, whether that be medication or therapy or like natural or whatever the case may be, whatever tools you need to get better. It is not generic. It is so specific to each person, and to combat the guilt and the shame that you feel when something doesn't work, or when you when you try something and it works for a bit and then all of a sudden it doesn't work again, and you realize that mental health is this chameleon that changes colors, and you need to adapt and give yourself grace and listen to your body. It's amazing when I started listening to my body, doing things that I never would have done. I joke that when my body needs, I call them cupcake days on Instagram. And it comes from my daughter when she was little, my firstborn. I was severely depressed with her and I could not get up off the couch. And I would feel so guilty as a mom, but she saw it as, I get mom all to myself today. So she would snuggle up next to me on the couch and we would watch movies and have popcorn, and I would warm up frozen pizza, and I would feel like a failure. And just later on in life, she told me those were the best days. Those were cupcake days, because I said, mom is a couch potato. And she says, ew, I don't like potatoes. So she said, wrap me up in a blanket like a cupcake. So like she was a cupcake. So we were couch cupcakes. And then it turned into cupcake days. And my daughters are 17 and 14, and still we have cupcake days, where we realize, whether that just be after school or after work, we're not going to worry about supper. We're not going to worry about chores. We are going to chill. And it's amazing how I start listening to my body, and as a farmer, it's very hard because work has to get done. So I say this lightly, but there is a time and place for rest, and that your worth does not lie in how much you get done in a day. Your worth is just finite to me. Like, it's concrete. There's nothing that you can do to take it away or add to it. You are worthy and you deserve to take care of yourself. When I take those days, it's amazing how the next day I can get so much done, because I've rested my brain, I've rested my body, and I've listened. And our bodies are telling us all the time what we need to do. And over the years, I've learned that there are seasons when I just get no sleep, and I clearly am not listening to my body in the right way. And then there are times when all I want to do is sleep, and all I do is feel tired, and it's not forever. And I really want to tell people that you're not alone, and what you're feeling is not going to be forever. It is a season, and there is millions that think and feel the way that you do. It always feels so scary in our brains. The thoughts are so big and so scary, and we think we're such horrible people for thinking these things, when in fact, my inbox is inundated with people saying, I thought I was the only one, or I can't believe you think like me. And it breaks my heart, and it just fills me with more passion to go out and make sure people know that they're not alone, and that they can seek help, and that there are ways we can listen to our bodies and then adapt. And it's not, yeah, I would say the biggest thing I've learned is that it is not A plus B equals C. It's this puzzle of colors, and that trying to figure out, I would say the biggest thing I've learned is just figuring out not what happens tomorrow or yesterday, just what's happening today.
Wow. Sherri, wow. I knew there was stuff in the background, because you've put out little hints. Following your story for whatever time I've been following you, I've seen that there's a reason why you do what you do,
Mm.
and that's an incredible story. And thank you for sharing that. I've never written so many notes listening listening to one of my guests. I mean, usually when Size Matters is here, that's what she's doing, is writing notes and asking questions. And I've never written so many notes. But um, I have. I'll start off with this question: what do you think was it that was holding you back from seeking help?
Oh, well, definitely stigma. Watching my mom struggle made me it 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 put up brick walls that didn't need to be there. It gave me this view of that's what mental health looks like. That's never going to be you. It was this stigma of if you now admit that you have a problem, you're just like your mother. And the thought of that alone kept me, I would say, from seeking help. And then also just the idea of what are people going to think. And what's hilarious is when you seek help and start getting better, people actually don't they don't come at you with pitchforks and torches. They come at you with love and understanding and respect and admiration. I love that I can be so open now. I have nothing to hide, and I'm only met with love and kindness and acceptance. I know that's not the case in everyone's circle. I know that I'm not going to sit here pretending that there aren't people that are nasty, but I I have seen the majority, I would say, reach out in kindness, and I would say the biggest thing that kept me back was the stigma.
We we look at ourselves through a different lens than other people,
Mhm.
and we think so often that we're going to be targeted, or we're going to be shamed, or we're going to be all
Mhm.
these different things.
Mhm.
When I started talking about my mental health journey, in trucking and farming is the same way, where we're show no pain, show no fear,
Mhm.
you know, suck it up
Yep.
kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I was very afraid of what was going to happen,
Mhm.
and that was not my experience. Now, there are some, and like you said, but also, it we can we are human, and we want people to change right away.
Mhm.
Okay, oh, you have a problem, okay, now let's fix it, and
Mhm.
tomorrow we'll go and do this.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it doesn't work that way. But a big key is there, and I think this is where some of the issues come in, is when people say they have mental health issues,
Mhm.
and they may have, but then they don't want to do anything about it, and
Yeah.
people get very tired, and those people, I think, get more flack
Mhm.
than those that are, I've got a mental health problem, and I'm going to do what it takes,
Mhm.
and I'm going to keep working at it, and people see that effort that you're putting in. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of it comes back to effort. People see you making a stand, see you doing something,
Mhm.
they'll respect that. They may, there's things that you can get ridiculed for
Mhm.
initially,
Mhm.
but then privately they may come to you and say, I really admire you for taking your stand.
Mhm.
And so there's always a journey, with this
Mhm.
stuff. It'll be for the rest of our lives.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a worthwhile journey, and the rewards are amazing.
Mhm. I agree.
And for me, part of it was, I thought that I thought I just needed to push harder. I had some brain injuries, head
Mm-hmm.
injuries,
Mm-hmm.
and so that coupled with I obviously, well, looking back, I can see that I had some mental health issues as a child.
Mm-hmm.
My parents also broke up when I was around the same age as you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was 9 or 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize at the time how much of an impact that had on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had my second, the most major head injury,
Mm-hmm.
then I got lots of help for the physical things,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't get much help for the mental aspect because it's just all in your head. You'll figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, anyway, so that was kind of tough. And I thought I thought I was just being a weak Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Not
needed to
praying hard
quit,
enough.
not praying hard enough.
Oh
Did
yeah.
you experience any of that? Like a lot of times I thought I had a spiritual issue
Mm-hmm.
when I really had a body
Mm-hmm.
issue.
Mm-hmm. There was definitely learning. There was a learning curve for sure on how much to share and which people were safe and not safe, like learning the hard way. And people that would say like, are you still like, you're still in this, or you're not better yet, or um I have this devotional like that. And people totally like completely kind-hearted, best intentioned people, giving you the devotional or the note that says, God told me. I tread that very, very lightly. I think that God is only truth and only joy and only love. And there's a verse in the Bible that says whatever is good, whatever is true. And I think about that verse often when I'm getting ready to speak, or whatever the case may be. When someone messages me something, I right away go, is this challenging me, or is this demeaning me? Because I do get messages like that, and I do get messages from people that I not that I grew up with, but like people that had gone to my church as a kid or things like that. And um, it's I'm at the place already right now, and that only has come from like other strong godly people surrounding me and affirming me, and the circle of friends that I have made through social media. I am actually on a podcast with four other women myself, um, that live all over the United States. We've never physically met, but we've known each other for well over 2 years now, and I could not have achieved what I have achieved without those ladies. And when I get those messages, it kind of is water on a duck's back now. I feel really secure in what my place is and what God wants to do in my life, big time.
That's amazing, because people can look at that stuff as being targeted or being uh, as not nice messages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get stuff like that, and I choose to believe that people mean well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing for me. If somebody comes to me and says, whatever they say,
Mm-hmm.
I choose to believe that they've come from a good place,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to what they say, or read
Mm-hmm.
what they've said, and I take what I can use. And if
Mm-hmm.
I can't use it, I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been very hard to get to that point where I can sift through what's good and what's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do some speaking as well, I say the same thing. Like, listen to what people tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Choose to believe that they're coming from a good place,
Absolutely.
and then use what you can.
Mm-hmm. And I find often I'm someone that is not scared of confrontation. I'm not sure where I got that from, but
Not just
I
the ginger hair, then.
just the ginger hair. It's genetic, and
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to speak my mind and to stand up for what I believe in. but I also am not afraid to love everyone and accept everyone. So when you do get these messages, I find often when I ask, what's your intention? Just that question alone throws people off their feet. Like, what's your intention with this comment? And then they'll tell me their intention, and it is often pure. And I say, because you come from a pure place, I feel that you deserve to know how this comes across to me. And they often maybe not apologize all the time, but they often are. It's very eye-opening for them to have it then said to them in the way that it's being perceived. And hopefully, like for me, if it's a dumb comment that's just completely hateful, there's no space or time in my life for that. But if it's someone that is trying to be loving and ends up being hurtful, why then would I not question them and challenge them so that they don't then in turn continue to be hurtful when they're trying to be loving? Like it's not stopping the problem. And I am a big fixer, and I have no issue. It definitely gets me in trouble a lot, but I have no issue speaking my mind and trying to clear the air, let's say.
That's something that's pretty rare, because and people aren't used to that when
No, they're definitely not.
no and it's very, very helpful because some people truly have no idea what impact their words have had.
Hmm.
And if you just turn around and walk away,
Hmm.
that person hasn't been helped. And they may
Yep.
do that to somebody that's not strong enough to handle it.
Yep,
And it
exactly.
could come to something worse.
Hmm.
But to come, um, I, I, I sometimes like to use the analogy of a duck where a duck looks so calm on the surface and underneath the
Hmm.
feet are going like crazy, right?
Hmm.
And I like to use that because um, you can be calm and working on yourself. Your feet are paddling like crazy,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
can come to somebody with a calm way, and that's not has never been my nature. I've
Hmm.
got a fiery temper, and combine that with the issues I have, and
Hmm.
it's been pretty epic sometimes,
I believe
and
it.
not in a good way.
Hmm.
And it's funny now. Um, I was I can't remember who said it to me. It was one of my coworkers in the last couple of years. Um, I was getting upset about something, and this coworker's like, "You're one of the calmest people I know. I can't believe you're getting upset.
Hmm.
Like if you're getting upset, it must be a big deal." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"You think I'm calm? Excuse me."
Yeah, yeah.
But I've worked with that I don't just let my mouth run away. I try
Mm.
to try to ask questions of people,
Hmm.
or try to present something instead of just getting mad at somebody.
Hmm.
Maybe explain to them what.
A very good question to ask is, help me understand your point of view here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, that's really good. I had one comment. I know listening to your live the other day, it's so easy to rank ourselves. And you
Mm.
touched on that a little bit. That if you don't get this, and this done today, then I've been a complete failure.
Hmm.
And we need, at least for me, it's really important to look at any day as being a complete day, and I've got done
Hmm.
exactly what I needed to get done,
Hmm.
and I shouldn't use any measuring stick
Hmm.
of any kind, whether it's against a person or whether it's against myself or how many
Hmm.
jobs I got done.
Yep.
You know, maybe because you were talking about this a little bit, you and me were both kind of goal oriented or
Hmm.
finish line oriented, right?
Hmm.
And we have things that we want to get done,
Hmm.
and it's been very hard. I mean, when I couldn't do anything because of my head injury,
Mm-hmm.
man, that was tough.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting
I
out of
believe it.
some days, just getting out of bed was a huge deal.
Oh, I believe it.
And other days was like, no problem, you can do something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe talk a little bit about your experience with that. You touched on it a little bit already.
Well, just something I learned being like, I didn't grow up in agriculture, um, learning that it is a very unpopular opinion in the agriculture world. And I am someone that's not going to stop me from still telling farm wives or ladies in farming or men in farming or whatever you're in, that like actually when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, that's a success then. Like it it is not, and it's very tough for me to even believe my own words because on days where I do get lots done, it's so easy to pat yourself on the back. You feel so accomplished. You feel all the chemicals are firing at all the right levels and you just feel good. And to realize that, to try to train our brains, as soon as they feel something different, the first reaction is this is wrong. That's something I learned staying in that mental health facility. It is not wrong, it is different. But our brains say wrong. So when I try to tell my brain on, let's say, cupcake days when I don't get lots done, um, you did tons for your health.
Mm.
That's a success. But I'm trying to get to the point where I don't need to even say you got blank done. Like that sentence shouldn't be even in the equation. And I've seen friends and family in agriculture struggle, especially in these last years when the weather just is awful and when things seem very hopeless, to realize that the lack of control, let's say, that we have in things like the weather and farming and grain prices and soil conditions. I didn't get this done and I can't get that seed in the ground. And now it's windy and we can't spray. And right away, it's the mentality of this day is a wash, this day is ruined. And to advocate for yourself, tell yourself, even though it feels wrong, it's not wrong, it's just different, that, okay, so then I can't spray today. What else is going to be a success today? Is it going to be spending time with my kids? Is it going to be walking through the garden and just not looking at the weeds, but looking at the plants? Or is it to physically, for me, I am so much in my own head. My thoughts run a mile a minute and they are so illogical, but they seem very logical at the time when I think them. I have to talk out loud. I am an out loud talker. And something also that I learned is when we say things out loud, left and right brain, right? So when we say things out loud, our hearing, which is attached to the logical part of our brain, hears it, registers it, and our logical brain goes, is that accurate or is that not accurate? Whereas
Nice.
our thinking is attached to our illogical part of our brain. So when we think it doesn't matter how crazy it is, like I am the worst mother in the world because I didn't cook supper from scratch today. Well, that's silly. Of course, but in your head that seems logical. When you say it out loud, your hearing hears it, your brain hears it as it is for its true colors. And often when I speak, I will say the most shocking things that I've thought, where you go, like just horrible things. In your head it seems so real. And just I really want to take away the stigma of, like, thoughts are not logical at all. And they're not only are they not logical, they're not truth. They're not you. That's not your character now. And then when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, to say out loud, I'm alive, I'm in a house that shelters me, I have food in the fridge, I have kids that are healthy, was a good day. When you get down to the basics, if you get down to your basic needs and things like love and shelter and food, like those basic things, if you have those at the end of the day, successful day. Anything else that has happened or not happened, irrelevant. It's not good or bad. To try to train yourself to think it is not, this was a good day, this was a bad day. It's just a day. Yeah.
That's incredible. And some of those days that you think are your worst, your daughter says, "Oh, those are some of the best days,"
Yep.
right?
Yeah, totally.
And so it's a matter. Sometimes it's a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like who's it a bad day for? You got to
Exactly.
spend time with your daughter
Yep.
and snuggle up, and you still do that today. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what's better than that?
It
You know?
completely, you can take your sorrow and your sadness and turn it into pure sunshine.
Yes.
It is perspective. Absolutely.
I think we could go on. I could listen to you for a long time. I hope that someday I can watch and listen to you speak somewhere.
That'd be
And
neat.
I asked you beforehand to think of an epic journey you've been on for whatever
Mm,
reason.
hmm.
Did you manage to come up with something?
That was hard. Um, I feel like life is its own epic journey. Um, but I would say like a physical journey was when I got to, for the first time with my dad, take my husband and my daughters to that our Mennonite colony, um, where I grew up, like where I had such a big part of my life growing up, and the people that I hadn't seen in years and years and years. Yeah, so many years just through circumstances not being able to get down there. It is a trek to get down there. Um, I was able to take them and for them to see it. Lots obviously has changed, but lots has not changed. And the people that love me haven't changed. Their love doesn't change. And I thought because it is so old fashioned, there was a little part of me that was nervous that my daughters would just be miserable the whole time. And they weren't, they thrived. And it was so special for them to sit and listen to my aunts and uncles and cousins just reminisce and tell stories of, you know, this little redhead girl, and I have a blonde and a little redhead who looks just like me, and just the love that was just poured on my family. And my husband obviously loved it because everyone is farmers there, and farmers love other farmers, and farmers want to be in farming all the time, and when they're done farming they want to watch videos about farming and read about farming and talk about farming. It's farming. So my husband loved it, my girls loved it, and it was just this, especially, this sounds crazy, but especially how they, like that's where my mom and dad grew up, and that's where my older sister was born. And even to hear my girls talk about my mom in such a positive light, she was just this light, just there was, they describe her as someone that everyone radiated to, like she just drew people in, and she was just this beautiful fun spirit. And because she was, and for them to see that just because of her journey and where she's at now, and like I said, we don't have a relationship with her, doesn't mean that we don't come from love and beauty. And to realize that your roots are can be quite wonderful. And I just think that that journey that we went on, the road trip, we love road tripping. We're a huge road tripping family. To just drive there and see and feel and listen, it was, I would say that was probably, that's something that I will never forget. I don't think my family will ever forget. And still to this day, they asked to go back. And that was really, really special. I didn't think I would ever be able to take them there. And just because Mexico is not exactly, like, it's unfortunate that it's just not the safest place to be. And but it was it was wonderful, and it was really special.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That again, those preconceived ideas, that your daughters may not
Hmm.
have a good time,
Hmm.
but the love that they feel
Hmm.
can make such a difference. And when it comes down to it, we all just want to be connected
Hmm.
to each other, to the ground, to
Yep.
the things around us,
Yep.
and
We're built for connections. Yep.
yes, that's very cool. That's a very cool way to end. I'll ask you what are your last thoughts before we close out?
Just that anyone listening, if you are struggling, or if you love someone that is struggling, it's scary to reach out, but it's so important to reach out. And that all those horrible thoughts that you think you have that make you this horrible person, it's not true. It is so not true. Not only is it not true, you're so not alone. Millions and millions of people struggle. So I encourage just to take that first step, as scary as it is. It's so
Yeah.
important.
Thank you very much for joining us, the Ginger Mom.
My pleasure.
So on all social media, you're pretty much the Ginger Mom.
Yep. The G Mom.
The G Mom. Yeah.
The G. Yeah. The G_mom. I think.
Yeah. We'll get those details in the show notes if people want to check that out.
Perfect.
It's not hard to find you. Look for the ginger hair.
Yeah, that's right.
And upbeat videos, but also videos, very real videos too, and very real comments. So really appreciate you coming on Canada Day.
Thank you so much.
Fortunately, the wind came up so we could do this.
Exactly, yes.
And the firstborn Canadian in your family. So
yes.
That's very cool on a Canada Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I will put this out, remind everybody to like and share and put comments in wherever you can put reviews, then please do that. And thank you very much for coming on, Sherri. It was a blast.
My pleasure.